All right. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be talking and presenting to you today. I hope that your Eclipse weekend or the weeks leading up to it or after have been exciting. I'm going to talk to you today about translation and language support and how technology tools like Google and a few other things we have available in the district can support you in those areas. So if you would like my slides, the slides are available through a short link, but they're also on this Google form. The short link is bit.ly, all lowercase, April 8, Google. All right. So those are just some pieces I wanted to be mindful of sharing with you at the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right. So our game plan for today is to look at some different Google features and tools for translation and scaffolding language. So I will preface this by saying anytime you're using technology to translate, it's never going to be as great as having a native speaker or interpreter do that. So if you have the options to have a human do it, always better. But sometimes we get in the situations where we don't have those resources right there and available to us, and we're in a pinch and we need something quick. And that's where some of these tools and things that I show you today might come in handy. If you want to practice along with me in the session, you certainly can. You can pause the video at any point in time and tinker with some of these tools. And ultimately, by the end of the session, I would love for you to set a goal to implement at least one thing, maybe two, that you learn from this session in your environment or in your role in the next coming weeks, ultimately before the end of the school year. So you have something new you can apply from and learn and then implement in following school years as well. All right, so shameless plug here. If you are really wanting some more and want to do a deeper dive into technology and how it can support our English language learners or multilingual learners, I do have another session for the PD Day. I technically have two other ones. So I have one on Stickity, which is a tool that we have available in the district, but I also have one that focuses on AI tools, and there's some really awesome stuff there. It is a little bit of an advanced, deeper dive into things, but it's certainly one that if you are really fascinated by some of the things I talk about today, it would really be a good option for you to follow up on. All right. So like I said, these are not as accurate. They're not perfect, but they are an option. Okay. And if you have questions about any of the things that I show you today or questions about what tools we have available in the district, do not hesitate to reach out. My email is on some of these beginning slides, but it's also at the end of the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go through just some translation features first in our Google tools. And then after that, I will go through some of the other ways that you can scaffold language beyond just translation. So translation is just, taking something and putting it in another language, or a scaffolding language might include things like pictures or translanguaging. So putting in multiple languages and kind of working through it in that way. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how you can translate a Google document in seconds. So Google has had translate features in here for a really long time, and technically Google Translate is all AI. So if you're fascinated by AI, we've been using this for a while. And there's several different ways you can translate Google resources. Google Docs are very, very easy to translate. So on the screen, I have an animated picture right now that shows you through how to do this. You go to your tools menu in Google, and then from there, you can translate the entire document. So what I'm going to do is pull up a document on my screen right now, and it is linked on my presentation. So if you want to have my presentation pulled up on another tab, I would probably recommend that so you can follow along with me on some of the things that I'll show you. But here we go. So we have a document right here, and I walk you through how to do it. Okay, so we pull up this document, and then under the tools menu, there's a button that says translate document, and then you select the language of what you would like this translated into. All right, so select whatever you would like and translate it, and then it makes a new copy of that document. And so what I probably should have done was name this in the language, said Hmong on here, and that is the version of this document, so I don't get confused. But it translates the whole thing, puts it all right here, and we're all set and good to go. So that's a really helpful thing to do. If you have some pretty common languages in your classrooms, upload it into Google Docs, and you can translate it here. You can also show students how to do this so that they're empowered to translate things as they need on their own. So I think Google Docs are probably some of the easiest things to translate really quickly in the Google suite of tools, and just really easy to translate in general. Okay, so that is translating a Google Doc. All right, next one. If you are still using Word docs, you can always convert those into a Google Doc pretty easily, but if you have any type of Word document that is being difficult when you're trying to transfer it into a Google Doc, or it's just not playing very nicely, if you just go to translate.google.com, there are a couple of other translate features in here that can help you, especially if it's a Word document. So if I'm on this page right now, I can pull up pictures as well and see if it will translate that. It really just depends on the picture type. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I can paste in text directly. I can paste in a picture or upload one from my documents. This is where I can upload a Google Doc and then select what language I want it to be translated into. So usually I leave this as detect language, and then over here I like to select which one I want it translated into, but that's another option for you. Then you can also put in websites. So if there's a website that I want to be using and I know that my students need it in Spanish or in a different language that is pretty commonly spoken here in BCSC, I can take them to this page, I can paste that in, and then it will translate as much content as it can on that website. So if it doesn't translate everything on the website, a lot of that has to do with how the website developer or the creator of the website has built the site. Sometimes people set things up in ways that makes it not very easy for Google to translate pieces because they've not set up the website in a way that they probably should have. If there are pictures as well that have text in them, those aren't always translated super easily. So it might not do a perfect job, but it should get at least the meat and the content and the navigation menus on that website translated, so it's easier for your students to follow along. Okay? So those are just some pieces on translating websites and Word documents in case you want that. Okay. And I kind of showed you this already, but if you just need to translate a word or a phrase, it's also super easy. Just go to translate to google.com, like what we were talking about. So if I type in this, and let's do a different one. All right, so I type in a word or a phrase, and then it translates it there. So I can copy this and paste it elsewhere. For some of these different languages that are here, not the one that I selected, but if I select Spanish, it probably works. I can use my microphone if I wanted to speak into my computer. So that's really great if you have some students who need to speak into their device and have it translated. And I can also swap this so that if I'm speaking in Spanish, then I can speak into my computer and then it puts that output in English. So these are just really amazing tools that you can show to your students. They're empowered to have things in different languages if they need it and can really use all of the languages that they know to be successful in your own classroom, in your environment, in your role, or however you interact with students. If depending on the language as well, I can also listen to how it's been translated. So let's imagine, I use my voice to speak this in. Now I'm going to listen to this in Spanish. I certainly can do that. Just listen. And it plays it. And I can also reverse that as well. So just some different choices and pieces there. And I would just maybe recommend starring or favoriting this, your students as well, so they have access to this at any point in time. Okay. Next up, using Google Translate on your phone. So I don't have an easy way to show you this right now, so I just put a lot of screenshots and animated GIFs and pictures on my screen. But so Google Translate on the web, like what I've been showing you, is certainly amazing, but I honestly feel like the mobile version of it, so you can use it on your phone, iOS, Android, whatever device you're using, the Google Translate app is 10 times better than the web experience because it can take pictures of content like what's on the screen. If you just hold up your camera, it can translate things in real time from there. All right, so I can hover over whatever that says there, have it translated in multiple languages. So in thinking about this in a school context, if you have iPads in your room, or if your students have access to a cell phone, they can install the Google Translate app on their phone and then hold it up to a worksheet or a paper you have in the classroom or signs around the school, and it can translate it right then and there without having to, you go in, upload a file or anything like that. They're empowered to do it themselves. It's super easy. And again, some of the other features that I just showed you, you can type in words and it translates it. You can also use your voice, so speak into your device and it translates into another language. But I really love the camera feature on the mobile app because it's not something that's available on the web version quite yet. It's pretty fantastic. You can also write as well. So you can handwrite on there in a language and it detects it too. So that is Google Translate for your device, whether it's a mobile device or an iPad. Pretty awesome feature right there. All right, here's just another video of it. So there is a sign holds up the camera, translates it right there in seconds. How amazing is that? All right, more examples of this if you would like them. And if you want to practice right now, I actually do have something on the screen that you can practice with. So pull up Google Translate on your phone, scan this word that's on the screen and see what it says in whatever language that you need it in. And it should be able to detect it on its own without me having to tell you what language this is. If you want to pause the video and do that then, nice hands-on practice. All right, moving forward, we're going to continue to look at some of these different translation features in Chrome and on these other devices and tools that we might have available in our classroom or in our environment. So all of our students in BCSE K through 12 have Google accounts, and they have access to Google Chrome and Chromebooks and all of the things related to the Google Workspace for Education suite of tools and products. So that's why I'm showing you a lot of the Google tools, just because they're the ones that I know all of our students have access to, as do all of our staff. So in BCSE, the internet browser that you really should be using is Google Chrome, just to make your life easier and to also make sure that you're able to sign into things pretty easily in systems. But one of the cool things is that you can actually easily set up your entire Chrome profile to where it's translating content into different languages, should you need it to. So if I am just perusing the web on, my device, I need to make sure I'm in Google Chrome first. But if I just right click on my website on any space, like what I'm showing here on the screen, I can have it detect the language, or I can select English as the language the original website's in. And then I can have it translate the entire website into a different language. So it's almost like what I just showed you on this Google Translate tab, but I don't have to open a different tab to do it. So I can pull up this website, like what you see right here, and this is a great one. It talks about supporting English language learners. And if I right click on this website, I can do translate to. So it might be, detecting a language already, like mine is, and I can decide what language I want to translate this website into. So there's lots of them. There's over 90 languages shown here. So you have some options. And again, just know these aren't perfect, but it's a way that you can easily translate that website. And once you have the language set, it's always going to show up as the option for you to translate that into first. So if I click something on here, what language do I want to do this time? All right, so it translated that website for me, and it actually did a pretty good job. Like pictures, like I told you here, are always a little funny because those are not the same as like coded out words and typed out words and text on a website, but it did a pretty good job in translating this. Now, I don't speak this language, so I can't speak to 100% accuracy, but that's an option there for you. And that's something your students have access to as well. They just have to right click on their device, or on a Chromebook, it's slightly different, but they pull it up, can easily set that language. And now anytime they open a website, they'll see the option to have it translate into a language that they might need. You can select different languages for different websites. If you have students who speak, multiple languages, they can easily do that here in a second. All right, so that is how to translate a website in Chrome. And for most of the things, I should have said this earlier, that I'm showing you, if at any point in time you want more of a guided tutorial, if you pause this recording, I do have shorter video tutorials for nearly everything that I show you on here today that you can pull up and watch. If there's something that you already know how to do, or you want to see it in a little bit different speed and pace, you have that flexibility. Okay. This is probably not something you're using every single day, but it's also a possibility for you to translate closed captions in Google Meet. So Google Meet is our video conferencing platform that we have here in BCSE that we use when we communicate and interact with students. So if you're, meeting with families, or if you are supporting students on an e-learning day, if we have one of those for inclement weather, then Google Meet's really the tool that we recommend that you use, because it's safe, it's secure, and it's something that our students all have access to, where that's not the case with Zoom. But in Google Meet, you can have live captions show up, but they're always in English by default. It looks at the language that, is set across our domain as the most commonly spoken language, and then it sets it as that. So there is a way that you can translate the language in Google Meet captions. So individual users can do this. So I would need to show my students how to do this. If I go and translate the captions on my device myself, it will not do that for everyone else. who's on my Google Meet, but you have to install the Google Translate extension. And then as soon as I do that, I'm on a Google Meet, I toggle all my captions and I right click again or open the extension, then I can have it translate that site, which translates the live captions. So it is a couple of different steps, and I'm not going to walk you through it for sake of time on this video today, but I do have a video tutorial right here that walks you through how to do it. So this is just really helpful if we have an e-learning day and you know you have students who need those captions in their native language or other languages that they speak. This is something you can easily show them, and they'll be set. They'll have captions in their native language, but also be able to listen to you in whatever language that you are speaking. All right. So here is one of my favorite things in the Google Suite of tools, and that is the ability to create some really helpful scaffolded resources for your students. So I've shown you just some of the basic translate things, and now we're getting into more of the resources that you might be able to use in your classroom with your students on a more regular basis. And one of those is the ability to make a Google Sheet. So it's like a spreadsheet, almost like Excel in Google. And you can make a glossary of vocab words for your students, and it can translate it into multiple languages all at the same time. So the ways that I think about using this in the classroom or supporting students is maybe I give my students their own copy of this and they kind of manage it. They're putting in their own words, putting it in a couple different languages if they need it. But as a teacher, I think this would also be helpful for making signs and labels in my classroom for some of the different supplies and things that we have. So building that common language so everyone's clear on expectations, clear on where things are. And we have, all of these languages celebrated in our classroom. But I also think this could be helpful just for making a really quick, helpful vocab guide for all of your units in your class. And you have them in different languages to support and again, honor the languages that your students speak. So I have a couple of templates here for you, but I'm also going to walk you through how this works because there is a little bit of editing and manipulation that you'll have to do. And I do a video tutorial here if you need it. But to do this, you have two options here. So this newer template that I have has pictures that are pulled from Google Images that load right here for the different words that you put in. But if you want one that doesn't have pictures, I also have one of those. So for these different spreadsheets, the ways that these work is I've set up an equation in my Google Sheet, and you shouldn't have to really mess with it a whole lot unless you need other languages there. And what this equation does is it looks at whatever word has been entered here in column A. So these are my words in English. And then it looks at it and says, okay, what am I translating this into over here in these different language columns that follow? Okay, so super easy. So for a book, I have a definition I wrote out here. It actually is just pulling from Merriam-Webster, so you don't even need to write it out unless you want to. And it translates it right here, okay? So actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toggle over into the simplified one, and then I'll pull that one back up here in a second, okay? So we're gonna fix that one first. There we go. All right. So I have my word over here in column A, and then I have all of these different columns here that are different languages, maybe in my classroom or in my school, all right? So I just needed to go through and make these labels here. And if you want to add in more languages, you certainly can. And move my controls here so I can see a little bit easier. Okay, so I type in my word here in column A, and then it translates it over here in these different columns. And this is where you can see where I have different formulas set up on my screen. If you're wondering, like, well, how do I set this up? If I want to add in a new language, how do I know how to make this equation? Or if you add in more terms here at the bottom. All right, then how do I get it to translate in all those different languages? So helpful hack to know here in Google Sheets is whenever I click on a cell, if I don't want to sit here and copy in this equation down every single one of these lines, if I click this little blue dot here and drag, then it drags that equation down. So as you see here, it's now translating the new words I put here. So dog, cat, and parrots into these different languages. So I would just need to continue to do that here for these different cells. And I actually went a row below where I have typed out some of these words, just so if I add in a new word into this row 23, it'll translate it there super quickly. So if I were you, I would just go through and drag the equations down here for these different languages all the way down to a pretty far point so that as you add in more words and it grows, you have the ability to do that. Okay, so I want you to see some of the magic happen here pretty quickly. So if I type in laptop, there we go. It just translated laptop into all of these different languages in less than a second, as you saw. So if I want to add in a new language here to my wonderful spreadsheet, then I'm going to come over here to this next column. And if you want to keep it all color-coded and cute, then you certainly can, but no pressure to do that. My second tab here on this spreadsheet is where I'm going to have to do a little bit of hunting and editing some of these equations, okay? And for you to be able to follow along and do this with me, you will need to make a copy of this. And once you have a copy of it, it's yours. The equations are set up and you can customize further should you need it. So all of these equations in Google that I've set up to translate the word in English to the word in the designated language, every single language in Google Translate has a shorthand code that corresponds with that language. So here is the equation that you're going to be using. All right. And every single one of the languages on the web has a little shorthand code that indicates what language it is. So I need to find what that is for my new language here so it can translate it. So I'm going to keep on going. All right. And I'm going to find Haitian. Okay. So some of these languages have two. I usually will keep this tab open and I'll try either one of these shorthand codes that goes with that language to translate it. All right. So it's either HAT or HT. So if I come back here to my spreadsheet, all right, here's the equation that I'm going to copy. So if I come over here and I just actually move that over, I'm going to change this and I'm going to leave where it says N because that is column B2. B2 is my word right here in English, and N is for English. So that's saying me, all right, so I'm going to look in cell B2, then we're going to Google Translate. So my input language is in English, so I'm going to leave that, but I want my output or my new language to be Haitian Creole. All right, so it's looking like HAT wasn't the best one. Interesting. So we're going to try that. Okay. Oh, I was looking in the wrong cell. Never mind. Okay. Silly me. We're going to look at this equation. I was looking in B2. That's why I was just keeping it in Spanish. All right. So it's A2. My goof. This is what happens. All right. So we're looking at A2. That's English. And then we're going to come over here. And this is where we're going to type in the shorthand for Haitian Creole. And it looks like HT is what it wants. There we go. And we're going to change that, make it look all good. And then what I would do is just drag this on down the line. And there we go. All right. So just know for some of these that, again, this is not going to be 100% accurate because it's a computer translating and a person is always better. But that is how you set up the spreadsheet. So I can keep adding more languages as I need to. And then as I add new words, the only thing I need to do is just make sure that I'm dragging these equations down. So it's applying this Spanish language here, Chinese simplified, Chinese traditional, Arabic, Punjabi, you know, all of these different things on down the line. And if I need more language codes, the link for that is just right here. So I can go through and edit that should I need to. So that is the first version of the spreadsheet that I have for you. It's just the word and then the translated word over here into all the different languages in those different columns. The more complex one that I have here for you is probably better for the students to have access to. So I still do have this translate code here, which you'll need if you add additional languages to this spreadsheet. But this one is a little bit different in that column A here just has the word, but I have set up more equations on this spreadsheet. So column B is a pronunciation of this word. So if you weren't sure about this, Google has pronunciations for how to say different words and animated pronunciations in English for a lot of different words. So I can listen to it. It shows it does it slower, and then I can practice doing that. So it doesn't have it for every single word that's out there, but if I wanted to check that out, I could just put a link here for it. Column C is looking up Google Images for the particular words that are here. If you don't like those images, you can always go through and change it. But as soon as I type in a word, it's going to put it in there. It does it for me. And it usually does take a second to think and find it. And then column D is finding a definition of the word. It's searching Merriam-Webster. You don't have to go through and do anything for that. It's doing it on its own. And then here are the different columns where it's translating it into those different languages. So here we go. This is like the same exact equation that we had before. The only thing is there's a few other characters and pieces, but the only thing you would have to change is where it says S for Spanish. I would plug in that new one here for my different language. So if I needed to add in Haitian, which I'm going to do right here. All right. What I would actually do is copy this. And we knew HT was what it was before. So we paste that in. And then I'll just drag that on down. So same type of thing. Applies the equation down and translate it into those different languages. All right. So just another helpful option for you if you like to make a study guide tool for your students with different vocab words. This could be helpful for providing that to students in different languages. All right, so that is just in Google Sheets. And I have templates there for you to practice and tinker with. Okay, so speaking of animations and pronunciations, if you also want to leverage this a little bit further and look at these different animations, here is the link to seeing that. You just type in how to pronounce and then put in whatever word you want. Then Google adds in those different animations for you, like what we see right here, where you can practice with your microphone, you can watch it, you can see it slowly, whatever you would like. So here is a spreadsheet if you would like to use this to, make your own pronunciation spreadsheets and all those different things. So here is the Google link to pulling up those pronunciations. And again, it's not here for every single one of them, but they do have a lot. So I can type in my word here, and then I can just put in a link here off to this side. All right, for my students to utilize. So this does not have an equation set up. It would involve you kind of going through and finding the words, finding the link to the pronunciation, but it is an option here for your students. All right, if you would like to do that. Okay, so there's a video for how to make your own should you need that. So a question that I often get a lot is, how can I translate my Google Slides? Because a lot of us like to use Google Slides because you can add videos, lots of rich multimedia to them. But unfortunately, it's not very easy to translate Google Slides. I wish it was. It's a work in progress, supposedly, on Google's end, but it's not super easy to do. A lot of the times you have to pull from a different tool, a third-party resource to do it. There's not a button within Google like what we had on Docs that will translate all of the content in your slides. A lot of the times it'll just translate the speaker notes, but that's usually not where you're putting the meat of your information that you want students to know. It's probably on the slide itself. So there are two extensions that you can utilize to translate your slides, and I have them here on the screen, but I'm also giving you a few other options if you wanted to check those out. So we have Slides Translator, which is a freemium. So you'll be able to use it to an extent, but then after that, it's probably going to max out or ask you to start paying for it. Similar here is Translate My Slides. So if you run out of translations in one, you can go to the other. So I'm giving you a couple. The other thing that you can do is go into Canva and translate your slides there. And there's also an AI tool called CurryPod that you can go to that can also translate your slides. So in CurryPod, it does a couple of different things. It can make lessons for you, but if you click Curify your slides, and I do have a tutorial for this. I recently put it in my last newsletter. So the March 2024 newsletter, but I can upload my own slides here. They have to be in a certain format, so you'll have to make sure it's a PDF or a PowerPoint slide, and then I select what language I want my slides translated into. So CurryPod can translate all of the content on your slides. Again, it's probably not as accurate as a person doing it, but it is an option. And then Canva has a translate feature. So you will have to download your Google Slides into a PDF or another format, but you can upload them into Canva and use the translate feature there to have them translated. But if I wanted to use these extensions here in Slides, here is where I would go to install them. So I'll do get add-ons and search for Slides Translator or translate my slide. And then I'll go to extensions to open them. And once I open it might ask you to update it depending on the last time you use it. I haven't used that one for a little bit and they've changed their logo and everything, but it opens a little side panel here where it lets me pick the language and where it puts my translated content. So it doesn't actually translate it right here. It's always a side panel off on the right-hand side of your screen. That does not necessarily work that way for translate my slide, but again, these are just some different options that you have there, but just be mindful that they are freemium. So after a point in time, they will ask for you to pay for those features. All right. So another feature that is kind of cool to know and a way that you can support your students is just by using captions in your classroom. So there's been a lot of studies and research that show that captions are beneficial to everyone, but in particular, not just your students who are hearing impaired and need this in their IEPs, but our students who are also multilingual learners and English language learners also benefit from having captions pulled up. So they can see the word, also listen to it, and then kind of have that ability to process it in that way, presenting things for multiple means of representation and perception. So if you are presenting in Google Slides, you can actually turn on live captions in Google Slides while you're presenting. And it does a pretty good job of picking up where you are in the classroom when we're doing that. So I need to be in present mode like I am on my screen in Google Slides right now. And I'm actually going to toggle out of this here for a hot second so we can see it a little bit easier. All right. And then on the bottom of my screen, I'm going to click the options menu and then captions preferences and then toggle captions. Control-Shift-C is the other way that you can do it. And I have my captions set up to be at the top of the screen just because I feel like it's easier for students to see than if they're at the bottom. They're always at the bottom of the screen by default, so you will have to go in and move it, and it's just through the same menu here where I do captions preferences, I can do text position, and then text size. I have mine in a larger text size just so it'd be easier to see from the back of the room if I'm projected and docked, but that is just my personal preference. You can change them how you like. I like to have my captions at the top because my smartboard in my classroom was kind of low, and it was really hard for the students to see if I kept the captions at the bottom of the screen. They couldn't see it if they were in the back of the room. So that is how you can turn those on. If you're watching this video, then you're probably seeing double captions right now. So I am going to toggle this off so it's not words on words on words for you, but it's super easy to do. Now, if you're wondering, like, well, how can I translate those captions? The little hack I showed you for Google Meet earlier does not work for live captions in Google Slides, unfortunately. And you cannot translate live captions in Google Slides yet, but it is on the Google product roadmap. It's supposed to be happening this fall. They keep pushing it back, but it is something that is on the horizon. So that'll be really exciting whenever we get that option to come up here in the future. All right, so speaking of captions, another thing that you can do if you do want translated captions, you can't do it in real time, so it doesn't work for live presentations, but it does work for video recordings. So you can have captions pulled up on any video in YouTube. So I always tell teachers and I always coach them to upload their videos to YouTube. You don't have to make it public links. You can keep them unlisted so people can't find them. But if anytime you upload a video in YouTube, it automatically creates closed captions. If you just keep it in like Edpuzzle or somewhere else, then it doesn't create the captions for you. And that's just one less piece of accessibility, which isn't great. As soon as you upload it into YouTube, we get a little bit more accessibility for our students because we have those captions. And like I said, they can also benefit your students who are multilingual learners and English language learners because they have the ability to translate the captions in YouTube as well. So I have a video tutorial that will walk you through it, but I'm going to pull up a sample video here so you can test it out, depending on how my computer does in loading. And of course, we're going to see a random ad. So I'm going to let that sit for a second. But it's super easy to do. The CC button is where we will go to do that. All right, so I'm going to skip ahead in this video a little bit. But to turn on my captions, whether it's a video that I have uploaded or someone else has, I'll do CC, and it toggles my captions on. So if I'm in full screen mode, cool thing to know is much like how I showed you that you can move your live captions on Google Slides to the top of your screen, I can click and drag and move my captions here anywhere I want on YouTube, and it sticks. So that's also helpful to know for when you're presenting in a classroom and you have captions on, to make it easier for students who might be in the back of the room. Okay. So we have that there. The other features that are helpful to know are the ability to translate these captions. So this is great to show students if you're having students do station rotations, and maybe at one of them, they're watching a video. If you have a multilingual learner or an English language learner who needs captions in one of their preferred languages, if I go to the settings button, this is where I can easily do this. So where it says subtitles, this is where you'll see if the creator of the video has accurate captions already made. You can see some different options here. Otherwise, if you click options, you can translate it into different languages from there. So pretty amazing. Auto translate is where I can select it to have it in any single language that I need. This creator has already put lots of captions on here for me, but that's just another option that I have to translate those captions for my students. If I want to change the way my captions look as well, I can also go through and do that. The last thing that I'll show you is just adjusting the playback speed. This can also be helpful for students who are English language learners. You can speed it up or slow it down. So if they need to have it read to them or listen to it a little bit slower pace so they can process it, then they can easily adjust that here. And then it's the same thing for faster too. So just some cool options in YouTube to support your ELs and their language development. And more tutorial resources on my slides if you need them. So I shouldn't have closed that video. But there are some also amazing things that you can do in YouTube with transcripts. So if you have seen some of my trainings before where I talk about transcripts in YouTube, they've changed the location of it again, so it is slightly different. So if I pull up my video here again about the history of the world according to cats, then I can show you. All right. So anytime a video is uploaded to YouTube, like I said, it makes captions for the video, but it also makes a transcript. So for any YouTube video, you can copy the transcript, paste it in a Google Doc and print it, and then give it to students as a note-taking resource. I kind of experimented with this with students in my classroom, and I was surprised that so many of them loved having that transcript that they could highlight and mark up. And I had ran out of copies within the first rotation where my students were using it. And what's really cool is that if you go through and you translate the captions, then you can translate all of the transcript as well. And again, if you paste it in Google Doc, you can also translate it that way. So you have resources here for students basically in multiple languages if you need it. So if I'm here on my YouTube video, I'm going to scroll a little bit further down the page, and where it has this description, I'll click more. And that's where the transcript has been moved. So there's this section here that says transcript, so I can show it. And then it puts it up here at the top of the video. By default, it usually has the timestamps on. If I want to have those marked off, I certainly can. And then I can Control A, Control C to copy everything in this video. I can change the language if I want to for these captions. And if I copy all of this, I can paste it in a Google Doc and then print it for my students from there. Now, if you do this and you're like, well, the formatting's all weird, there's spacing, there's not always punctuation, that is the downside, but there's this amazing AI tool called Glasp. It is an extension that you'll have to download, but once you download it, anytime you pull up transcripts in YouTube for videos, it puts the punctuation in there for you, so you don't have to go through and edit and do that yourself, because chances are you want to give your students readings and transcripts and learning resources that have accurate grammar, punctuation, and spelling, but it's very time consuming and monotonous to do that for a video yourself, especially if there's a lot of work to do and it's a longer video. Glasp is totally free. You can install it and it does that editing for you. So that's my little helpful hint. I was going through and doing all that myself, and it was just not the best use of anyone's time doing that. Okay. So next thing is read and write for Google Chrome. So throughout BCSC, every staff member and student has access to a tool called Read and Write. It's this little purple puzzle piece that you should see. If you don't see it, then you want to go into your extensions menu, your gray puzzle piece here, and then you can pin it. But Read and Write is amazing. It's a resource that I have several different videos and resources and links here for it on my slide deck. But it's an accessibility resource for your students. So it has a dictionary, a picture dictionary, and lots of amazing things that your students could use pretty much on every single website that they might come across. So what I'm going to do is actually pull up a site that we were on a little bit earlier. This one from the amazing Jennifer Gonzalez. But we're going to close this. All right. And I'm going to open up Read and Write so you can see some of these cool features. So the first thing I'm going to show you are the different dictionary options that we have in Read and Write. And everything I'm about to show you, you can do on a website, but you can also do this on a Google Doc. You can even do this on PDFs, which is amazing. All right. Similar tool here, I'll also point out, is an extension that is free called Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is available throughout Canvas or Learning Management System if you'd like to check that out. What it does is provide a lot of the same features of Read and Write, and it can translate entire websites as well, which is also something that Read and Write can do. Okay, so if I have this website open, if I pull up my little Read and Write toolbar here, I'm going to move myself down the screen so you can see a little bit easier. I have some different options here. So I can highlight a section of this text and I can listen to it if I need to. If I have a word here that I want to see, you know, dictionary and have it look up, then I have all these different buttons. And if I hover over any one of these words, it will tell me what that particular button does. So if I click dictionary, here we go, opens it up here for me. So that can be super helpful for your students if they're building that vocabulary. The next one that I love is this one called Picture Dictionary. So I can have both of these stacked up and now I have a picture of what that word means. Okay, so that is Read and Write and specifically the dictionary and picture dictionary tools. Immersive Reader is the exact same type of feature and function here, provides that. I can read with my ears, I can listen to the word and have pictures pulled up as well. So the next part I'm going to show you are the translation features on Read and Write as well. So again, you can always use Google Translate to do this, but if I'm needing something else to be translated, up here, I have a translate button that I can use. All right. And it puts it in Spanish right now, but I can also go through to my settings. Now my settings menu, I can change my voice. I can change the language as well. So my translation here is set as Spanish, but if I need different languages on here, I can easily do that. So it doesn't have quite the same list as Google Translate, but it is really close. And if you have been using Read and Write for a few years, there used to only just be a couple of languages on here, they have tremendously expanded the number of languages that are available in Read and Write, which is nice, just so we have that extra layer of accessibility for our students. So here we go. I can change this to the different voices should I need it. All right. And I can also change it to where it translates the content for me. And once I make those changes, it applies it. So now I'm going to have it translate to Maori. So if I hover over this, now when I translate, all right, it shows me there. And it does not read that one aloud, but for some of the other languages, it does read it aloud in the language I have it translated to. So kind of a cool resource here. Again, this is a resource that we pay for, so you do have premium version. All students and staff have access to it. And if you want more on how to use Read and Write for Google, I do have a training that is linked towards the end of this presentation that shows you all of these different buttons and tools that are super helpful to know and to help your students build and support their vocabulary and their language development. So that is Read and Write for Google. The next thing I'm going to show you is something that you can also make and create for your students, and that's just using Google Slides and creating word walls with Google Slides. So I used to have a physical word wall in my room, and then I found out about this and started using these for my students as well, and they really liked it. So I would make, you know, kind of a growing unit vocabulary slide deck for the different topics that I taught. So I'd have the physical space in my room where I have the word and the picture that went with it, but this is great if you run out of physical space, but also want to give your students access to the words in your word wall and your running vocab list, even when they're not in your classroom during that time of day. So what I did is I went into Google Slides and I put these different vocab words here, and then I put a picture of the word, and then I made a really quick little audio recording of that word. So Google Slides supports the ability to insert audio, super easy to do. And if you're wondering, well, what tools can I use to create my own audio? I have listed 3 different ones here that are all free. There's Mote, there's Online Voice Recorder, and Vocaloo. So to add it into Google Slides, you do need to first record it using one of those tools, save it on your computer, and then upload it into your Google Drive. And then from the insert menu in Google Slides is where I can upload or really find that file of my audio that I just saved in my drive and select it. So for these, what I did is I went through and I spoke the word in English, and then I also spoke it in Spanish and put that audio recording on here. So I have my pictures, I have my word, and then I have my audio for it. So this is something that maybe your students work on together, or maybe this is something that you make for the students and share. Maybe you put this in your Canvas course. You can embed it in your Canvas course on your homepage or in the module for that unit, and your students have access to it. And then the second slide deck here just shows you how to do all the things that I did on this particular virtual word wall. And we have a video tutorial here, and this template is yours. So if you click File, make a copy, it's yours to edit and tweak. All right, so speaking of recording audio, here we go. Here are the different tools you can use for recording audio across different platforms. So several ways to do this. I really like using Vocaroo. It's free, an online voice recorder, but there are a few other tools that you can use to record audio, and then you can put them in your slideshow presentations, put them wherever you would like them. You also have access to premium Screencastify here in BCSC. All staff have access to it, which means unlimited recording time. Anytime you make a video on Screencastify, like what I'm actually doing right now, you can save it as audio only. So that's another way to do this. And the nice thing about recording audio and putting it on your slides, your instructions, or in your Canvas course is that it just gives students another way to process and learn the information that you're sharing with them. So super easy to do, and I have several tutorials here for you to go through and look. So I'm not going to walk you through every single one of these because there are tons of tools I listed on this presentation, but if you wanted to pause the video and tinker through those tools right now, it would be a good time to do that. And then the last thing I'll just say on the topic of audio and video is that leveraging video is always great as well, so then students can see you speaking and pronouncing those words, and then have the audio perception, and then having text as well can be a great way to really tap into all of those different ways of presenting content in different parts of the brain. So Screencastify, like what I'm using, is what you can use to record your screen. Like right now, what I'm doing is I'm recording my whole desktop screen and I have my video turned on. You can do it to where it's just video, so just your face. You can do only your screen, whatever you would like to do. And then it always saves into your Google Drive, so you can share it with students, or you can upload it to YouTube. So I always upload my videos to YouTube just so I have those closed captions that are automatically made from YouTube, because YouTube does that for every video. Another platform that can be super helpful for you to use in creating content and communicating with your students is Flip. So Flip is totally free, and it always has this alert up here. I promise you it's allowed in our Google Workspace for Education, so you could just ignore that. But you can sign in with your own BCSC Google account. You can make video discussion boards for your students to respond to, or you can just use it to make your own videos. The cool thing about Flip is that anytime you make a video in Flip, it automatically creates captions. It can translate the captions just like YouTube. And if you upload learning resources to Flip, it also has immersive reader to where students can read with their ears. They can use the read and write tools with a picture dictionary and translate it. Flip is truly amazing. So you can use it to make your own videos as a teacher. You can also record your screen now on Flip, so you can walk students through how to do something, do a nice tutorial. You can use it for feedback, but you can also use it as a way for students to respond to you and to practice themselves. So maybe you set up a space in Flip where students are just practicing speaking. Some of our English language learners might be shy, maybe don't want to do that in front of the classroom, and this is a less intimidating option for them. And what's cool about Flip is that the videos can be totally private, so just between you and the student. They don't have to have their face on camera. They can hide it, but they can also put fun filters and stickers on it, which some of the kids like to do. And it's super, super easy to use. So it works on Chromebook, Windows devices, on your cell phones, mobile devices, iPad, whatever you're using. Flip works really well to do that. And you can also just make it for discussion boards. If you have students who make projects, I use Flip for more than just video responses. If my students were recording videos for a project, they could use Flip, so that I could go back in and provide feedback to them, because you can upload rubrics on Flip and do it that way. And it was also a cool way for other students to see their videos and their work if they were willing to share. So have that listed here, as well as a pretty in-depth tutorial that walks you through how to use the tool. Okay, so extras for translation, and this is featured in my AI session but I just want to point out that Canva has an amazing translate tool. And I do have a how-to guide here. The cool thing with using Canva to translate is it can take your PDFs and make them editable, which if you've ever tried to edit a PDF, you know it is a really big pain. It's not a fun time. This makes it so easy to do. You just upload it, pick the language you want, makes the whole thing translated, and you can move pictures, icons, and things around. So I do have a guide here in a video tutorial. I'm not going to walk you through that in this one, but I do have it in my AI session. Other things that you can use, this is a free online bilingual dictionary that I do recommend checking out. So it has words here. You can select what combination of words that you want or languages that you want, and then it just keeps a running list here for you to always go through and check. So that's helpful for you as the teacher, but also as something that maybe you point your students to, and it's totally free. It's called wordreference.com. And if you are wanting to build in some nice activities here for your students to practice their vocab, because that's always great to do no matter what you teach, whether you have English language learners or multilingual learners or not in your classroom, this is fun. It's called Flashcard Factory in Pear Deck. And what it allows you to do is to make a fun little vocab game out of your vocab terms within Pear Deck, so the kids can draw a picture of it and then write out a definition, and then they try to mash the two of them together. Quizlet is also great for vocab and practicing. So you can pull from existing vocab decks and study sets in Quizlet. There is a paid version, a free version, or your students can go through and make their own. And what's really cool is they can get practice in spelling it, writing out the words, matching the term and the definition, and they can also read with, on their screen, but they can also listen to it. So there's text to speech and reading with their ears, and it can translate some of the words and cards into different languages as well, depending on your settings in Quizlet. If you want additional options for audio, this is also a fun one. It's from Adobe and it's called Animate Audio. So what it allows you to do, it's totally free, is you can record yourself and then it puts a fun little animation. You get to select what character you have. So might be a fun way to spice up your audio or your instructions for students, like if you have a sub or something, and your students can also use this. They have access to it if they need to. So kind of a fun thing here, especially if you have students who are camera shy. This is a great way for them to share their voice without the pressure of being on a screen. So that is Animate Audio. It's totally free. You just click Start Now. You select the character that you want, record your little clip, and then you can download it, save it to your computer, upload it elsewhere, or you can get a link and it just takes them to this recording and this link. So if I want to use the sloth here, give permission. Does it count down? Hello, I'm so excited to be sharing these tech tools with you. And I forgot to share my sound, so you probably won't be able to hear this. We're going to do that really quickly. Usually it's faster than this. Naturally, this happens when I'm trying to show you something on a training. I'm going to come back to this. All right. And then Book Creator, if you want to give your students some opportunities to show their understanding and present their information in multiple modalities, Book Creator is amazing. Students can create ebooks, or you could go through as a teacher and make ebooks, and it can have them translated into multiple languages. You can read with your ears. It always has text to speech. You can record your own audio and upload it, put pictures. It's just an amazing tool. And right now I have some extra premium seats available that last throughout the rest of the school year. So if you want to use Book Creator and have a premium license, which means unlimited books, unlimited features, and you have all of the bells and whistles in the platform, please email me and let me know. These licenses are going to expire at the end of the school year, and I at least want them to get some use before then. So reach out and let me know. Let's see if our audio, it's still going. So Book Creator is one of my favorites. So my computer's being super slow. I'm just gonna go past this, but it adds a little animation here, so it will be my voice as if this sloth is speaking for me. Okay. If you want to learn more, check out my AI session. Otherwise, my email's on the screen. And thank you again so much for joining today. I hope you have learned something new and you have a great rest of your day.